Joel 2:27. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am Yahweh your power, and none else. And my people shall never be ashamed. And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions. Call halal Yahweh Basham Abishai Basham Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors to the elder bishops of Connecticut. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth among the heathens that look like the heathens, and to the Akwath that are listening and learning, to you, I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you with another lesson. And I contemplated whether I was going to do this lesson. And the Spirit, I didn't even cast a lot on the Spirit, just said go. So last night I had a dream or vision, whatever you want to call it. And it was surreal, and it was like a giant medical fortress, a high rise that was about 100. It was over 100 stories high and over a block long and over a block wide. It was like a gigantic fortress, and all the people in the bottom of it, like the first 50 floors, it looked like a regular business. But above all the higher levels, it was a madhouse, nothing but brutal pseudoscience and being done on the people, heathen and Israelites alike. And they were doing these horrific experiments. And well, as a matter of fact, let me grab another scripture, because this was a scripture that came to mind, because it was woe is me. And this is 2 Ezra 16 and 17. And it reads, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? Because I was caught up in the midst of this, along with other people who believed in Yahweh Bashim Abishai. Even though I was alone, I wasn't around anyone that I knew, except for some people that I knew as children, as childhood friends. And the crazy thing with all the drugs that they were injecting and putting into people, we all saw each other as little children. We didn't even see ourselves like we see ourselves now. And and then they were doing all these DNA studies, and it's just like I've always said, because that 23andMe and the DNA tests have all been proven to be fraud. You've had identical twins, triplets send in their DNA, and it came back, all their results came back different. You've had people send in DNA from animals, their dogs, pet lizards, and it came back telling them they were this and they were that. It's all a lie. But what I have no proof of this, so this is just me speaking as a man. But I truly believe that all that DNA was basically Esau, Edom, trying to find out who among the heathen, especially his own people, are really us. That's how much they hate us. If they're trying to find out the scattered that don't look like us, because hey, look, the worst type of nigga is one that don't look like one in their eyes. And I know this firsthand because my mother came from a family like that. She had family members that passed, definitely were Negroes, but they passed for being so-called white people. And in doing so, they cut off my mother and her, and many of her family members, and lived among so-called white people and lived their lives as white people. And they're so far gone, I have no idea where they are to this day. All right. So that's how hard life can be for Jake, that they don't even want to be who they are. But nevertheless, that's what I believe that was all about. But back to the thing at hand. And these childhood friends, they were making them fight and play these very dangerous games. And they would it's like certain floors were like testing floors, and and between, and it was like 6 or 7 inch thick glass where these people in all these lab coats could observe these gladiatorial type games where people were just killing and ripping each other apart, and they were looking for signs of power, of people who were stronger than others. It was just these weird things that were going on. All right, and then what they really wanted was the DNA of the elect. All right, let me grab another scripture. This is First Peter 5:8. Yes, this is First Peter 5:8, and it reads, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour." So, what they really wanted to do was take the DNA of Jake and make and use that DNA in these super soldiers. All right. And I just remember having to fight this gigantic Gadite. He was ginormous. And I ended up getting the upper hand on him. He was armed and I wasn't, and he was, like I said, he was ginormous, and I ended up taking a weapon from him, and taking his weapon from him, and basically shoving it up his nose. It was pretty gruesome. All right, and piercing his brain and killing him, and because he was between me and a way out that I had discovered, and it was a matter of fact that brings to mind another scripture. Let's go to I call this the Yak scripture. Yak brings this scripture out a lot. This is 2nd Ezra 7, I think about verse 4. And it says but put the case to the entrance were narrow and like a river, whom then could go into the sea and look upon it. Hold on, is that what I wanted? No, I want to start at verse 12. No. I was right. Salakia. I'm going to start at verse 7. The entrance thereof is narrow and is set in a dangerous place to fall. This is 2nd Ezra 7:7. The entrance thereof is narrow and set in a dangerous place to fall, like as if there were a fire on the right hand and on the left deep water. And the only path between them, even between the fire and the water, so small that there could be one man go there at once. All right. If this city now were given unto man for an inheritance, if he never shall pass the danger set before it, how shall he receive this inheritance? So, like the scripture said, through much violence, with a, roughly paraphrase, will the kingdom of heaven be established. There's no other way to get through it, and then there's a lot of violence being done upon the kingdom of heaven. That's what I really meant to say. And there's no other way to get through it but to go through this dangerous narrow path. So I found my way down. I found a narrow way down. I wouldn't even say it was a staircase. It was like some sort of shaft. And I made it all the way to the bottom. And I got out. And I started running for the entrances, when I got to the bottom, and I saw some of the workers. I don't know how I appeared to them, but some of the people who just worked there, when they saw me, they were all in fear. And then I had on those smocks, like those I wouldn't say, well, I guess it could have been like inmate clothes. All right, because they knew, the people who worked there knew that anyone was dressed that way came from those upper floors where what that was restricted. Nobody was supposed to go to. And they all just began to run, and then it was alarms, and as soon as I got outside into look like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a motor pool, like all the vehicles that they use to transport people and supplies back and forth. I was in like the motor pool area, and there was a high fence, and I just remember running it and just took flight and started flying over the trees, And when I got over the fence, that's the civilian world, and they had no clue what was going on in that place. And it was like I was a spectacle. Everyone was looking at this man fly, and I was probably flying up about maybe 5 or 6 stories. I was high, but I wasn't that high. I was about, 5 or 6 stories, I guess is high enough. And next thing you know, there's Edomites flying behind me. I'm like, what the? And I'm like, Lord, they getting it too? They getting the power? I was just thinking in my head what's going on. And they started attacking me, and I had 2 weapons in my hand. So basically, I turned to face them and was flying away from them backwards and fighting them off because they were trying to capture me, and it was clear that they were trying to bring me back dead. They definitely didn't want me alive with the weapons that they were trying to use against me. So I'm like in flight, flying backwards, fighting these damn left-hand side powers. All right. So I guess Esau, through his witchcraft and his science, took the DNA of some Jake, and next